Howdy everybody, I'm Raymond Dahlman with DSA Financial Group, here with our weekly economic update for April 5th, 2021. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. It was a little up and down here in Colorado. The Cougars unfortunately lost on Saturday in the Final Four. A little sad for me, but is what it is. Good news, the Astros swept their opening series out in Oakland. That's always good news when the Astros get off to a hot start. I was a little worried about it with some changes in the lineup this year, but they certainly do look like they're headed in the right direction. So as far as weather, it's nice and comfortable here. We got up into the 70s over the weekend, which from snowing a week ago was quite a blessing. And got some chores done around the house here, so replaced some outlets. The outlet to my backup battery and all my computer stuff here in the office, I was messing with it Saturday because I have a new stand-up desk, and evidently the old outlets weren't very good, so I had to crawl underneath and swap them all out yesterday. So anyways, let's dive into what's going on in the world. On Wall Street last week, things were a little rocky, but all in all, the Dow Jones gained about 1/4%. The NASDAQ rose 2.6%, and international equities dropped, international equities slipped 0.43%. So kind of a mixed week. U.S. equities did better than obviously the international space, but not too bad. The S&P 500 hit 4,000 over this last week, which is certainly some good news. The market is still recovering quite well from last year. Also, it looks like there were some hedge fund problems here. Some U.S.-based investors were forced to unwind some Chinese positions, which put some downward pressure on some of those banks. Economic news coming out this week. We have factory orders coming out today. If I recall from seeing it somewhere, it was not as good as expected. Also, we have tomorrow job openings and labor turnover. And Wednesday, we have the FOMC meeting minutes, and then Thursday, jobs claims. This week on reporting earnings, we have Paychex reporting tomorrow, Tuesday, and Constellation Brands and Conagra Foods on Thursday. So not too bad. Let's see how the major indexes are doing so far year to date. The Dow Jones is up about 8 1/3, NASDAQ about 4.5, international 2.83, and the S&P 500 is up year to date through last Thursday 7.02%. So also the 10-year, rates year to date do continue to climb. The 10-year is up 0.76% for the year. So again, I know I talked about this quite a few times over the last couple of weeks, but when you have a lot of selling, it's going to push prices down, which is going to, in turn, raise the yield on those Treasury notes. Let's see, nothing else there. Some of the white papers I'm sending out this week and are on my social media. IRS has extends additional tax deadlines to May 17th, so gives us about an extra month. However, the IRS has also settled deadline for contributions for individual retirement accounts, IRAs and Roths, HSAs, and your Coverdell education plans. Also, let's see, it postpones the deadline for reporting payments and the 10% additional tax amount includable in the gross income of 2020. So. And then the one thing to keep in mind is that your estimated tax payments do need to be in by April 15th. There is not an extension on those. All right, let's flip over to the second white paper. IRA deadlines are approaching. Again, you have until May 17th to make 2020 contributions to your traditional and Roth IRAs and other retirement accounts. Let's see. And just to make sure, if you're sending in a contribution for the previous year, if you mail it in, be sure you write it on the check for tax year 2020. Also, if you're doing it online, just make sure that you're documenting appropriately for what year the contribution should be applied to. All right, First Trust. I'm going to go ahead and attach some of these white papers from First Trust. They have some really good numbers, talking about the current climate that we're in right now as far as job growth. There was 916,000 jobs added in March, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Certainly fantastic. I know I've seen a lot of news on TV talking about the good jobs numbers that came out last week. I kind of view that as a mixed bag. I mean, I'd more look at it as people returning to the jobs they probably, had. So, until we get back, closer to the, I think it was about 150 million employed Americans that we had a little over a year ago, then I'll start to get excited when we start eclipsing those numbers. But it is good news to see that more people are going back to work. Like I said, I think a lot of this is people returning to jobs that they, either were furloughed, or, and again, some of those are obviously, new careers that are people are moving to. So, as far as the Treasury markets, I know this has been talked about a lot. The 10-year bill, the 10-year note. In this last week went up about 5 basis points right here. You can see that up to 1.722. Same thing with the 5-year note. It's up 11 basis points. So you can see right here in this top section, where it shows the rise in rates over the last week. Again, it is something that I am worried about to see interest rates rates climbing on those treasuries, but it's kind of a wait and see. I think if we do see weakness in the equity markets, that'll push more demand over into the treasury markets, which will hopefully bring down some of those rates. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about, I mentioned this Friday when I was doing my weekly wrap up, was a breakdown, or to at least find a breakdown of the infrastructure plan that President Biden is proposing. It appears there's quite a lot in there, and I'm not going to read through all of this. I'll attach it to the show notes so that you can read through it at your own leisure. But as far as the big numbers, about 174 billion, or a little more than 25%. Would be spent on electric vehicles, vehicle stations, bus fleets. I'm not a huge fan of electric. If the batteries had more life to them and it was more efficient, I'd certainly be all on board. There were probably 10 or more years ago when the Tesla sedan was being talked about, and I remember going to their website and looking through it. I mean, it's a beautiful car, has a lot of great features, but having about a 300-mile distance that you can go just isn't really attractive, because most of my driving is long. If I'm going to go somewhere and drive across the country, really don't want to have to sit for a half hour or longer to charge the battery. So. All right, another 115 billion will be spent on fixing roads and bridges, plus 200,000 or 20,000 miles of highways and roads. 85 billion for modernizing transit systems, and 80 billion for the growing backlog of Amtrak repairs that are due. So you can kind of go through this, and it shows you what each section is. I personally, most of this bridges and roads, these are local problems. I don't understand why my federal tax dollars are going to pay for a road in Kentucky. These are local issues, in my opinion, that should really be handled at the local level. Let's see, next, $650 billion for quality of life at home, Let's see, 213 billion of that would be to preserve and retrofit more than 2 million affordable homes and commercial buildings. Let's see here, 100 billion for modernizing public schools, another 100 billion for high-speed internet. Again, these are not things for the general public to be paying for out of the central government till. Another 40 billion to improve public housing, 18 billion for Veterans Affairs and Veterans Affairs hospitals and clinics, 12 billion for community college infrastructure, 16 million to plug oil and gas wells and reclaim abandoned mines. So again, most of this stuff like public housing and to me, these things are things that should be handled at the local, county, state. Again, I should not be paying, to house someone in New York City or to pay for their education. It's really bothersome. Caregivers for elderly and people with disabilities. Biden would like to pump $400 billion into improve access to quality, affordable home and community-based care. See, boost pay for care workers who are disproportionately women of color and typically earn $12 an hour. Well, I don't know what the color of people's skin has to do with what you pay them, but so 400 for older people. Another 300 billion in the plan would be invested into manufacturing, including support for domestic production of technologies and critical goods. Another 50 billion towards semiconductor manufacturing and research. Another 180 billion on new research and development with emphasis on clean energy. Well, I'm all for clean energy. I like clean rivers and lakes and open spaces, but I just don't see where any of these fall under the purview of the either national defense or the general welfare of the nation. I mean, we're trying to run this country like a local city council, and it's just unfortunately I don't see that I mean, some of these things will go to good use, paving roads and stuff like that, but again, these are things that at the national level I don't see where they are constitutional. So how is this going to be paid for? Biden wants to raise the corporate tax to 28%. Also wants to increase the minimum tax on multinational corporations to 21%. He's calling this tax overhaul the Made in America tax plan. Well, I can speak for myself, and my wife and I lose about 30% of what we make to the federal government every single year, and we really don't get much out of it. So having to raise taxes on businesses, I really just don't see this as being the right way to go. These are my opinions. You're welcome to have your own. Go ahead and read through this, and let me know if you think this is a good use of our federal tax dollars. Considering that we're 28 trillion in the hole, and we just spent $5 to $8 trillion over the last year to dig ourselves out of a hole that unfortunately we shot ourselves in the foot by closing down most businesses. But anyways, so that's everything I had for this Monday. If you have any questions, concerns about what's going on in the world, feel free to reach out via email or give me a call. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with your friends and family. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have concerns about what's going on in the world. But there's also a lot of good stuff. And, get out, enjoy the spring weather, and I'll talk to everyone on Friday. Bye.